As sketchy as a backdoor Roth sounds, it's really not. Today I'll tell you what it is, who it's for, and how it helps you. Thanks to my subscriber Sierra NV0331 for the question and for the suggestion for this video. First, what is a backdoor Roth? A backdoor Roth isn't actually a type of an account. It's just a transfer from a traditional IRA to a Roth whenever you make too much money to get into a Roth normally. The backdoor name just comes from a way around getting into a Roth. Sort of like if somebody said, no, you can't come into my house, at least through the front door, but then you just walked around the back and you came in through the back door. Like it's the same thing. It really is that simple, but it's also not simple at the same time. So let's get into what it is. Buckle up, it's about to get nerdy. Oh no, they're almost broken. Let's talk about how a backdoor Roth happens. I'll describe the kind of easiest way that you can do this. There are technically a couple of other ways, but this is the simplest version of the gyration. First, deposit money into a traditional IRA. Next, transfer the money into a Roth IRA, hopefully with the same investment company, just makes things simple. Finally, pay taxes on the amount that you transferred. And that last step isn't really happening right then. It's just happening whenever you pay your taxes, in April or February or whatever. And that money that you transferred is just taxed at your normal income rate. So it's not anything special, no penalties. If you took a while to do that transfer and you had the money invested in that first IRA and it grew any, you'd also be accountable for taxes on that money. So just do the transfer quickly. Generally, you can do it like the next business day after you transfer the money into that first account. And that's pretty much it. That's the backdoor. So who is a backdoor Roth for? If you're considering a backdoor Roth, odds are you're all three of these things. One, a high income earner. Two, you're already investing. And three, you're looking for a place to further optimize your taxes or give yourself some options in retirement based on how you'll be taxed on that money in retirement. First, the making a lot of money part. So the income limits change year to year. For 2020, if you're single and you make over $139,000 a year in modified adjusted gross income, or $206,000 a year if you're married filing jointly in modified adjusted gross income, then you exceed the income limits to just invest in a Roth IRA directly. Now, if you aren't totally familiar with what that MAGI term means, just look at your last couple of tax returns and kind of get a feel for what that looks like for you. By the way, in 2021, those income limits are bumped up to $140,000 and $208,000 respectively. If you make more money than those limits, a backdoor Roth might be good for you. If you make less than that, like my wife and I do, or quite a bit less, then you can just invest directly in a Roth. Go right through that front door, no use with the whole gyration. As part of that, I just mentioned the fact that you're probably already investing because a Roth IRA doesn't lower your taxable income. If you're potentially considering this, you probably earn a lot of money. And if you're earning a lot of money, you're getting taxed a lot, you're probably interested in lowering your taxable income, which a traditional IRA or a traditional 401k will do. You're already a money-making machine clearly to even be considering this, so that means that you're also aware of ways to lower your tax bill. Now, if you've already maxed out maybe your 401k and you're looking for another option to kind of diversify, this is a great option. So on the subject of taxes, a backdoor Roth is a great way to kind of diversify the way that your after retirement income will be given to you. Paying less in taxes sounds really awesome, but the problem is predicting what's going to happen in the next 20 or 30 or 40 years, depending on how young you are, with taxes. Will they be more in the future? Will they be less? Will you want to withdraw a lot of money in the future? Will you not care and have a really low level of lifestyle? Who knows? Only you can know, or potentially try and predict. I dare you to try and predict anything 20 or 30 years in the future besides your age. It's pretty tough. Choosing a Roth type of investment just means that you're paying taxes on that money this year. You're not getting a tax break on it now, you're getting that tax over with now. Then that money grows for the rest of all time, totally tax-free. The government gets their slice of the pie this year, then they leave you alone because they're fat and happy. It can also be withdrawn later on without any taxes. Remember, we appeased the government, we gave them their slice, they're done for. The rest of this lovely growing pie is yours. Man, who doesn't love pie? Just remember, one way or the other, the government is going to get some tax money from you, whether it's now or whether it's later on whenever you're retiring and you're drawing income from your traditional style investments. They're going to get you one way or the other. So it's just up to you to decide when you want to make that happen. In an ideal world, what you should do is perfectly optimize the way that you have that taxed based on your income levels, both now and in retirement, and based on tax rates, both now and in retirement. Since that's completely impossible for anyone alive to predict, all you can do is choose choose whether you want kind of all your eggs in one tax basket or whether you want to diversify and use the Roth. Once you've done this little conversion, this backdoor Roth rigmarole, you get the same benefits of anyone else with a Roth. I mean, it's a full-fledged Roth, and they have some really cool benefits compared to a traditional IRA. After you've put some money into a Roth, as long as you wait 5 years, you can go ahead and take back out that money that you contributed kind of for whatever you want, which is a really cool, flexible option. Doing this kind of withdrawal would, of course, hinder your growth, just like chopping off the top of your tree would hinder its growth. But if you decide that you really, really, really need the money, it's an option. The other cool feature of a Roth that I don't want to forget is the fact that you won't be forced to withdraw the money once you reach a certain age. So if you put all your money into a traditional IRA, once you reach 70 and a half, or whatever the government changes that age to in the future, you have to start withdrawing the money. Now, if you don't need the money, or if you don't want the money, or whatever, which is a viable scenario, that would be really lame because now you have to do something with this money. You would also be getting taxed on that money. So your taxable income is going up, you're getting forced to take this money out, whether you want it or not, now you got to do something with it. With a Roth, there's no such required withdraw. The term for this is required minimum distribution. I feel like the people who name these kind of things just try and make them as confusing as possible. And can you imagine that committee of people who are deciding what this age is for the traditional IRA? They're like, oh man, I think it should be 70. No way, it should be 71. Nah man, it's gotta be 70. I'm sure they always say, nah man. No, I think we should just meet in the middle. Yeah, let's meet in the middle. Maybe we'll just do 70 and a half. We'll have people count the months. When you're already over 70 years old, you've gotta worry about how many months old you are to get right at 70 and a half. That's when you'll have to start taking money out. Yeah, great, let's go to lunch. Like, how did this happen? Come on, guys. So instead of having to be forced to do that with a Roth, you actually get to just leave the money in there if you choose to, and then that can get passed on to your kids. So you can go ahead and get as old as you want, the money continues to grow, it's tax-free, it's doing its snowball thing, accumulating all the compound interest and awesomeness, and then it gets passed on to your kids. So if that's kind of part of your overall plan to leave this legacy, to leave an inheritance for your kids, then a Roth could be a good option. If that required minimum distribution bit was a little confusing, I put a link in the description so you can click on that and go to the IRS website and read up, but it's kind of foggy. All right, finally, why a backdoor Roth helps you. We already talked about some of the base benefits of a Roth and how it's pretty awesome. It gives you some flexibility and it gives you some options. For example, if you think that you're already going to have a lot of income in retirement from other sources and that income is going to be taxed, then a Roth is really handy because you know that no matter what, that money won't be taxed. So maybe you've got some investment properties, or maybe you know that your spouse will be working at that time and you're going to be retired, or whatever is happening, you have this as an option. If you're on the younger side, say in your 20s, and you're a high income earner and you'd like to do a backdoor Roth, it could be great because you have a lot of time for that money to grow. If you're considering this or like a taxable investment, for example, the problem is that whenever you make money through gains or dividends on your taxable, the government sees that as income and they say, hey man, give us our slice of the pie this year. You made money, I want my cut, give me my pie. The great thing about the Roth is it's sheltered from that tax, so you pay it up front and then it's yours to accumulate. Also, if you decided that you think it's a great idea to go ahead and pass on money to your heirs through an IRA, the Roth is definitely the better choice. Admittedly, these are very particular circumstances. This is what makes this something that people don't talk about that commonly. You've got to have these kind of conditions in place to even consider it. But hey, Sierra NV, I got you, buddy. I got you. And in reality, there are thousands and thousands of people who exceed the income limit, don't have access to a Roth, and otherwise would be missing out on the benefits of a Roth. So this is a great option for anybody who makes a lot of money. And outside the income requirements, the question of a Roth is really just whether you want to be taxed now or later in retirement. If you're young or you don't make a lot of money, a Roth is a great option. So just contribute directly to a Roth. You don't have to worry about the whole backdoor situation. Just go for it. This, of course, doesn't count as investment advice. This is purely my opinion and for your entertainment purposes only, but my wife and I actually use both. So we both have 401ks and we both have traditional and Roth IRAs, and depending on how we feel, we allocate more money towards the traditional or towards the Roth IRA. Just kind of depends on your outlook as far as your income now versus your income then, tax rates now versus tax rates then. The question of tax rates is the same for everybody. I can't predict what's going to happen with taxes just like you can't, so we're all just making our best guess. Overall, the most important thing is that we're participating. We're investing, we're looking out for a future, and we're setting that money aside. The longer that money has to grow, the more work it does for us and the more we benefit. Okay, things to watch out for. There are things to watch out for this. First, know that you have to pay taxes on this money that you transfer from a traditional to a Roth IRA whenever you're doing the backdoor Roth. Obviously, you're a high income earner, so I would hope that you have this kind of money laying around. You can pay that and it won't be a big deal for your taxes. If you were like perfectly balanced and calculated and you got hit with a $1,500 or $2,000 tax bill, I would think you can swing it. But of course, your tax professional can advise you better, and you could find other ways to write off those taxes with your investment properties or somewhere else. Number 2 thing to watch out for, remember that you can't touch this money for at least 5 years without a 10% penalty, so just plan on leaving it there. Third thing to watch out for, carefully fill out this tax form that's associated with the backdoor Roth conversion. It's called Tax Form 8606, and it can be a doozy. If I was doing this personally, I would probably hire a tax professional for help, and I would specifically ask them about this kind of Roth conversion. So they may or may not be familiar with the term backdoor Roth. Just talk to them about converting from a traditional to a Roth and make sure that you're not over or underpaying on your taxes. The final thing to watch out for is the potential for the pro rata rule. This can hit if you already have money in IRAs and then you do a backdoor Roth conversion. It can be kind of a retroactive taxation effect on the money that you already have invested. Again, talk to your tax professional about doing this. I'm not a tax professional, so I can't advise you on how exactly to fill out your tax form based on your life and your scenario. So you've got to reference with them, but be aware that this is a question you should ask. If you've got any questions to further clarify this, then please let me know. Leave me a comment below, or if this was helpful for you, then go ahead and invest in the like button, because that helps me out a ton and it helps YouTube to tell other people that this video is worthwhile. Also, only about 5% of people that watch my videos are subscribed, so if you found this helpful at all, consider subscribing. Every time someone subscribes, I get so excited. There's less than 200 of you, so I hold each one of you very dearly. Thank you for being here, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.